Welcome to the Impact Tribe. I am your host, Ashley Bright. This is the show where we meet exceptional people who are taking bold steps to bring a positive impact to the world. If you're seeing this or hearing this, please give us a follow or subscribe on your platform of choice. I'm very excited today because I have a very special individual here. Our guest today is a father, a husband, and a skilled tradesman. As the owner of Mass Fabricator, he brings over 30 years of experience as a master welder and fabricator, serving the aerospace, military, mining, and art industries. He came to my attention on TikTok, where he's been on a mission to teach the masses, young and old alike, how to gain valuable AI-proof trade skills in welding and fabrication. On a recent Saturday morning, I took my teenage sons to his free class, only to discover no less than 300 people lined up outside, ready to learn. And so I felt like this is an individual I had to have on the show because it's all about impact. And here's an individual that is having an impact on the community and the future workforce that's going to be going out there. And so with that, I want to welcome Travis Reed to the show.
Hello, sir.
Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. And I have to say, I was taken aback when I stumbled upon you on TikTok, whenever that was, a month or so ago. And you were saying, essentially, like, come down, free classes, we're going to teach you how to do welding. And I mentioned it to my kids, and they were like, hell yeah, we're in, let's go. And we showed up, and I think it was at the time, it was from 8 to 12.
Yes, sir.
And I showed up at 7:30 thinking, like, might be a little busy. I'm seeing a lot of comments of people coming down from Chandler and different places. And we got there, and there was already probably about 50 people in the shop. And so we got signed up on the calendar to come back the next day. And when we left 15 minutes later, it was a line like out into the parking lot. It was like a concert event or some must-have seat, must-have ticket.
Right. The demand is definitely there.
Yes.
For sure.
And so I'm curious, like, how long have you been offering this, and how did you kind of come to offer this to the masses, so to speak?
Well, initially it was going into the halfway houses. I had a little welder I carried around to the Joshua house.
Okay.
And I would plug into the dryer, and because that's the only cord that works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And just asked whoever wanted to weld. And I did that for about 6 months before I got into the shop. And then I had somewhere to push people. So that's when I started just telling everybody, come down to the address, and you can get those free classes, just bring yourself. So I didn't want to exclude anybody, money or helmet or gloves. I didn't want any excuse for anybody. So I kind of just took it all upon myself as far as the supplies and things like that.
Yeah. And what was it about? Obviously, you've been at this for a long time in terms of this skill set and your business. Was there some particular event that prompted you to want to invite others in and teach them, or has this always been kind of something you've been doing?
Well, I think that the initial purpose was to change the mindset of the guys coming out of the prison in that setting. When you can give them a trade where they don't feel like they have to go do some of those bad things or return where they just came from. This trade can get you, some of those things where you don't feel like you have to hustle anymore.
Got it.
That was the main driver initially.
Yeah.
And then it was just, inviting everybody down. That's kind of how it grew into that. I've been doing it for 2.5 years. I just never had that many people that wanted to learn from me.
Oh, okay. And how long have you been sharing it on TikTok?
2.5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm late to the game, is what you're telling me.
I think that most of America is that was probably my 40th class.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I never had more than a couple people in there at any one time.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of times it was just me. So at times it was a little, not heartbreaking, but just I don't understand why somebody wouldn't want to learn what I'm offering.
Yeah.
And then I think times are changing and people are looking for more of those things to learn.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because my 17-year-old especially, he's in that kind of headspace of trying to figure out, like, what does the future look like for him? And it's kind of scary out there in terms of what job opportunities are there, what even careers are there going to be in 5 or 10 years. And he and I were talking about trade skills, whatever that is, carpentry or welding or electrician. And that was why when it's almost like I think the algorithm was listening as we're having this conversation, because I think that TikTok was like, hello, you need to meet Travis.
Right.
But you're saying that like for a while there wasn't as much interest, or not in a huge way, but all of a sudden recently there's been quite a bit more.
Right. And yeah, there wasn't that much interest at all. And, you know, a couple guys here and there, some kids, but other than that, nothing like what you saw when you showed up. And yeah, I was throwing the first come, first serve, but not expecting this many people. And I had to kind of come up with a calendar and sign up. That wasn't initially how I had it planned, but sometimes you just have to be open to those little side steps to make sure I accommodate everyone.
Yeah, I think I was there for the adaptive element where it was like we showed up, it was packed, and I think your son was at the door like trying to figure out what to do with all these people rolling in. And I think that was where we had the paper sign up, and that was the first sign up. And then I think the following week you put a digital calendar on your site.
Yes, sir.
And then subsequently I've gone and it's booked up for months.
Yeah, we're booked out 3 months, and you know the 1 week will pop up, and then it books out fairly quickly within a day.
Yeah.
And you know some people cancel you. It's hard to schedule out that far. So I'm telling everybody, if you want to get in a little earlier, you can pay attention to those cancellations the day before and typically get in sooner.
That's great. And so when I was there, my kids did TIG welding, and then there were two other types of welding. Is that correct? Or
was there three?
Three.
Yeah,
okay.
MIG welding.
MIG welding.
Right. Regular hardwire flux core, which is MIG welding, just a little different.
Okay.
The TIG welding and stick welding.
Yeah.
So you get a really good idea of the process and each one of them. So it's good for like your boy if they're searching for some of those things. I'm not quite sure what I want to do. This is really good to come in and just get a little taste of it, and he can make his own mind up fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm trying to open up opportunities for other trades doing that. Yeah. Whereas a community style, you can come in and get some of those free initial classes and really hone in what you want to do.
Yeah.
Especially as younger, like your boys.
Yeah. It's so, you know, my whole career has been sort of with digital technology in terms of whether it's marketing or the internet or whatever. And I've always had that craving for the tactile, like actually creating something that is here, you know, and it's so interesting to see that in at least my kids, this younger generation, where it's like they're sort of native in terms of technology and the internet and social media, but that craving to build, you know, to create something is still, I think, rooted in who we are as human beings.
Right. And we've been pushing the digital side so long that it's coming full circle, whereas your kids really want to dive into the trades more so because they did grow up with all the digital. You know, I didn't have a cell phone growing up. I didn't have a pager. I didn't have a lot of those things that we do nowadays that your kids don't know any different.
Exactly.
My kids don't know any different than the internet and Google, whereas, you know, I'm 50 years old, so I was before all that stuff.
I feel very fortunate. I'm 52. I feel very fortunate that I experienced life pre-internet, pre-social media.
Well, you look very young, sir.
Well, thank you.
You don't look 52.
Thank you. I've been, my youngest actually, he broke his phone a couple weeks ago, and so he's been surviving phoneless. And he said to me, he's really enjoyed it. In fact, yesterday he dug, while we were moving, we're packing up, and he dug out an old flip phone from somewhere and got it charged up.
That's awesome.
And I don't know, he might be going back to the simplicity
the
of
StarTAC.
Yeah, just phoning someone. What a crazy idea.
Right. Writing a letter. You know.
I know, exactly. My wife is a big one for the writing letters and the paper and all those things. And I think no matter how advanced we get, quote unquote, with technology, I think there's always going to be that interest in the tangible good, the thing you can fold up and put in a drawer. Or
well, that goes to the building as well. You know, I think it's just within everybody to want to create. And, you know, they haven't had that much outlet lately, especially with, you know, if you just want to go learn how to frame or learn how to plumb or learn how to you get your hands dirty and build some of those things.
Yeah.
hopefully I'm going to make more of those opportunities available here before too long.
That's great. That's great. So I'm curious, how did you come to be doing what you're doing? In welding, am I framing it right? Welding and fabrication. Is there another element?
Yeah.
Am I oversimplifying?
No,
Okay.
no, that's basically it. Welding and fabricating. I think there's a lot to just those two terms.
Of course. Yeah.
And I came from more of a technical fabrication side where I'm building aerospace and parts within 2 hairs thickness,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
You're measuring it's within 0.004 of an inch.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the other things you're building, you build the table, it's whether you're plus or minus an eighth of an inch, you're good to go. Some of the more technical stuff is, very close tolerance. It takes a certain amount of skill.
Okay.
You got to build over time. It's not something you just jump into doing aerospace parts.
Got it. And so were you doing that through Mass Fabricator, or were you doing that through?
No, I worked for a company here in town. I ran his fab shop for 9 years. It was, fairly big. I think I had a 50,000 square foot shop. I had every tool you can imagine, lasers and just cool stuff. You can just build anything you want. And that was where I gained a lot of my knowledge, is from some of those older guys that worked there. I've had several mentors throughout my career, and that's very important in this trade, is to get a mentor. You'll probably have several throughout your career.
Got it. Is welding and fabrication, because I know I've got a couple friends that are electricians, and I know you have to study to become you're an apprentice, then you get certified. Is welding and fabrication similar?
No, there's no apprentice program. I think when you get into, if you're a union, they typically do that, but I never was in a union or didn't have anything like that. It was more of just finding the right guys. It's all that knowledge is passed down, and there's no apprentice. You go work for a guy for 2 years, and that's not how this thing works.
Got it.
You have to get your foot in a door somewhere. Get your foot in and find that old guy that knows everything, and just start buying them lunch. And those kind of things kind of get you on their good, nice list. They'll start teaching you things.
Did you ever think that we'd be or you'd be in that old guy category, ready to pass it on?
No. And I think that, I'm fortunate to be able to gain a lot of that experience from the guys that were doing it during World War II. My last mentor was a tool and die maker, and he started it in 1974. Oh, wow. He started tool and die the year I was born.
Oh, wow.
So you can understand the kind of knowledge you can gain from somebody like that. And you can't go to school. There's no apprenticeship. There's nowhere to get that.
Really?
Yeah. So and they flat out told me, a lot of my old mentors, I won't teach you everything I know. They've taught me a lot, and they flat out told me, I will not teach you everything.
Really?
You're right. And this is after working with them, being their boss, soaking up all their knowledge 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Still telling you that. So, there's a lot of that stuff that's going to go away that they'll never teach, and I want to make sure that I get it all out of there before I, happen to go away.
Wow. So it really is. I hadn't thought about it. I mean, because like I said, my only reference is really, I've got a couple of friends who are electricians, and I take that more as it's a skill set, and you learn and you get certified and you do that work.
Right.
I hadn't thought of it so much in what you're describing. There really is sort of an art to it, and everyone has their own kind of style.
Right. Yeah, especially with the welding, there's definitely, there's some things that are common to every welder, but some things are very unique. So you can kind of walk a line and tell who welded what. Right, just by the welds. So it's very unique in that way, for sure.
And so I'm curious, how are you seeing kind of any commonality in the people that are seeking you out and wanting to learn this, in terms of where they're coming from, ages, what they want to do?
I never thought that my youngest age group is 25 to 34, and I didn't think that was what my analytics were showing, but it's the younger people coming, and they're wanting that knowledge and to gain that trade. And even if they don't necessarily use it, it's something they have in their back pocket. So, that's what I've noticed is a lot of the younger generation. There's a lot that want to pursue it, but then there's a lot that are just there to get some of that knowledge.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, because I remember when I was thinking about sort of what was my future after high school, I didn't have anyone around me that was talking about trades like in high school or my family, but it's been interesting to your point about like my son specifically. I mean, he's talked about engineering, mechanical engineering. My youngest has talked about aerospace engineering, but they both see the need and the value of having, a trade skill.
Right.
That not only are they learning valuable things that could help them moving forward, but also I think that they have that as, whether you want to call it a fallback or an alternative. It's very interesting. I think that young age they've got that foresight,
right.
which I certainly didn't have. I was just out into the world.
I can understand. I was out on my own at a fairly young age, so I think that it's very promising to see boys like your boys in there, and just the smile on their face, when it clicks, right? Oh, I can build something here.
Yeah.
And it's the creation side of it, just like your wife likes to write the letters. It's more of a creating this document, or we're creating this table. So.
And the idea that there's a permanence to it. And speaking of my wife, it's funny because I still have in a box somewhere letters that we wrote to each other. I mean, this is really, I told my kids about this. This will date me, but I have the long distance phone bills.
That's awesome.
That we used to, because I was in California and she was in Washington, and we're phoning each other, and there's that permanence.
Right.
Because I have thousands of photos of my kids that are on a hard drive that I probably cannot access.
Right.
But if I had a box. Yeah,
it seems there's something different. I think that as far as my grandma, they had that old box of photos. And, I think that there's something to be said about something tangible as opposed to something in your phone, digital. So,
yeah, and if the phone stops,
right,
bye-bye.
Right. Yeah. Creating is just one of those things. I that's what I like to push there as well, is, creating and not destroying. Right. I think, I think a lot of times people just want to destroy, and creation is where it's at.
Yeah. There's something, whatever that is, the idea of creating something and bringing others together and sharing that idea and that knowledge is powerful.
Right.
So I'm curious, are you said you have 4 kids?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And have any of them followed in your footsteps? Or?
No, I have no.
Okay. No.
But yeah, and I'm not sure quite why that is. My son comes and helps out. You saw him. He helps with the tools as well during the summer.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure. They've taken after the music side. I'm a drummer.
Okay.
I played guitar for a very long time.
Yeah.
So they took after that side of it, but never on the fabrication and welding.
So do you think is it your youngest that I saw at the door?
No, that's my second to youngest.
Oh, okay.
My youngest, she's a drummer. She's in percussion at her high school.
So creating, there's lots of creativity.
Yeah, and that, I tried to push that throughout their whole childhood is, just creating and not destroying. When you're a kid, natural, you want to kind of break things up. And and I just tried to turn that around to creating instead of destroying.
Yeah, and I said this too, because I think when we were there, you were, I don't know if you were speaking directly to my kids or I overheard you were talking to someone else, but there was a large gate that was there that I think you guys had just built.
Right.
And you were talking about kind of the tolerance of the weld, and if it's a little more forgiving in something like that versus aerospace. And I've completely lost my train of thought now.
No, I know.
I was going somewhere with that.
I know where you're going, because I use that as an example for somebody just coming in and they spend a couple hours.
Yeah.
And, if you can weld that long, you can build that fence. You can build the gate. You can build the table.
Yeah.
You don't have to have that much experience to start creating in this trade. And a lot of it has kind of been gatekept that way. If you don't do your welds a certain way, if you're not on the $7 million machine, if you're not with the right hood or those type of things, I've kind of dispelled all those. I've worked for a company here in town that had me do a bunch. I made $1 million for them on a Harbor Freight machine. Yeah, a $700 machine. So.
Wow. And I do remember you were, and I think this was for my kids. You were talking about at some point, I guess maybe when you were overseeing the 50,000 square foot space or whatever it was, that you said you could go down the line and kind of tell who'd done each weld because each one had sort of their own mark or their own style.
Right, yeah. Every welder has their own style. There's a lot of things that are common that are very rigid you can't do. But as far as the weld, the way it looks, everybody has their own unique style.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, why welders really get into it. You can see them, they're very proud of every single weld, and they really get into it, and that's why is that. Yeah, so.
Got it, okay. So I'm curious, like, what you said, percussion and music, is that your outlet, or do you have others that you?
Well, right now I'm doing Taekwondo with my boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a blue belt, right? Okay. He's a high red belt, so
Yeah.
we're getting there. We're close. He's almost a black belt.
Yeah.
I think that's my outlet at this point. It's very important that you do have something.
Yeah.
And I chose something that he wanted to do, so that it's very important to have something in common with your boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
With your kids, and that's what he wanted to do. So I just jumped in. I started off at a white belt, a couple of years ago. So
that's great.
Right.
That's wonderful. I'm trying to think where I wanted to go with this now, because I'm curious. So obviously that we talked about the education component and the people that you're bringing in there. In terms of the business, the Mass Fabricator, what sort of what are you producing, and who are you working with, and how long have you been running that business?
Well, I've been running my own business for about 2.5 years.
Oh, okay.
I started in my garage.
Yeah.
I did that for about a year, and it was tooling. So I make tools out of AR500. I pulled patents in 2019 for AR500 and a wrench.
Okay.
It was a utility patent, significantly improved the strength of tools by using.
Okay.
So you can get into utility patents when you significantly improve an existing invention.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did fabrication and the tools.
Yeah.
I did work for Mr. Car Wash. Sure, everybody knows Mr. Car Wash.
I do. Yeah.
A lot of big mining companies, South Korean military, SunWest, just a lot of different.
A variety.
I've had my hands in a lot of different things for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And how many people are part of Mass Fabricator? Is it you? Have you got others? Or?
Well, recently I have a couple employees now. I have a office helper.
Okay.
And I have 2 guys in the back that help with the tools in the fab.
Yeah.
And this was only been happening for about 3 months. I've had employees.
Oh, okay.
Before it was my wife and me and my son handling basically everything.
Well, congratulations, because as an entrepreneur, I know how hard it is to sort of step into having other people.
Well, yeah, and I see why people don't do what we're doing, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that putting yourself out there like that is a very hard thing to do. To step out in the unknown, for one.
Yeah. And
then not knowing where your mortgage payment's coming from is one of those things that it's very hard to step out into.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, I greatly appreciate what you're doing for a variety of reasons, but I think that, what you're working on and what I'm seeing in a lot of other industries, even in kind of the digital technology space and marketing and other things, is whether it's a younger generation or even our generation, starting to realize the trade, the bargain they're making when they get that full-time job.
Right.
And you could argue, traditionally there was a level of security, pay your mortgage, pay your bills. But I feel like lately that's not the case. And so I think people are starting to seek out, whether it's trades, whether it's how do I create my own thing. I've always loved this thing when I was a kid. I wonder if I could make that a business.
Right.
And so I see what you're doing as part of that broader move that I'm seeing throughout a whole bunch of different industries of people like, hey, I'm not playing this game anymore because I get fired tomorrow for nothing.
Right.
And
well, you're exactly right. And that's kind of what happened in my situation. I ran enough people and crews, you just get a sense of things, and sometimes people don't like you, and I think I was kind of forced out of where I was at.
Oh, yeah.
Just like what you were going to.
Yeah.
And it was a very rough time. When somebody does that a couple weeks before Christmas and you got kids at home, and it kind of puts you in a different mode.
Yeah.
It forces you to think about things a little differently when you spend that much time at a place and then it's just one day.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was watching, I saw an interview recently with Mike Rowe. You know him?
Yes, sir, I do.
Dirty Jobs.
Yes, sir.
And it was interesting because he was making a point about he felt like this younger generation, Gen Z, millennials, that like they don't have the work ethic that we had. They're not willing to. And it was interesting because I then saw a commentary on this interview essentially saying that like, no, this younger generation just isn't prepared to buy into what they've seen their parents do, where they work for someone or go out and,
You're exactly right.
bust their ass, so to speak, for 20, 30, 40 years. And then
nothing really to show for.
Exactly.
No, you're exactly right. That change is happening right now. And I think the corporations have kind of pushed everybody into that. And the prime example is why we don't have enough welders. And I'll tell you exactly what goes on is they give the old guy a rookie.
Yeah.
The rookie spends 4 or 5 years with old guy.
Yeah.
Now rookie can do old guy's job, but old guy's making twice as much as rookie. What's corporation going to do? Yeah. So why would I pay old guy 35 when I pay rookie 20?
Yeah.
So that's why you have the position we're in is all those old guys saw that and they're like, you know what? No, I'm not going to teach anybody. That was, it was kind of forced on them through the corporations, greed.
It's interesting because, obviously we're talking welding and fabrication and trades, but I come from a background in marketing and design. I worked in advertising agencies and things like that. And in the last maybe year and a half, I've started to meet more and more people from that industry, and I'm sure it's true of others, exactly what you're describing, where it's like they have spent 25 years, 30 years, they've built up a wealth of knowledge, skills, expertise, relationships, but you've got these companies that maybe they started as an independent agency and they cared about the work and the people, but then they got bought by something larger, and then it just became a numbers game. And exactly to your point, that it's like, hey, I can get some 25-year-old out of college for, $20 an hour, and why would I pay you $100 or whatever it is?
Yeah, that's exactly what the issue was, and that's why we're in the position. There's a shortage of just welders of 330,000 now.
That's crazy. And I think it's similar, I don't know the numbers, but like for construction, all trades, I mean, electricians. And it's so wild too, because I remember in 2008, during the housing crisis, there was, everybody was out of work. All the carpenters, all the, the construction workers. And then here we are now, there's a housing shortage because we don't have enough people to do these jobs.
Yeah, and that's going to continue. There's no end in sight as far as I don't see the government or anybody really doing anything like I'm doing to help get enough people in there. Yeah.
And it's something like, I'm only familiar with like JTED because my son's talked about it. But is it true that there isn't, you sort of alluded to this earlier. Could I go and study welding through a school or a trade school?
Yeah, you can. There's a lot of valuable stuff you can gain there. Yeah. It's just you can't ever get everything. Yeah. And a lot of those schools will just get you in the door, honestly, because you have some knowledge, but as far as grand total, it'll get you in the door. That's about it.
Yeah. But you need, as you said, that kind of that mentor relationship, the person that's going to show you the inside. Here's the inside game.
Because I've done it myself, and just because I tried to help somebody, it was an older guy, and he kind of barks at you. I know what I'm doing. Okay, so I watched him drill a hole for 3 hours. I should have taken him 5 minutes. That's the difference, right? Yeah. Is that, that's why you need those good mentors is, when you come in thinking a bunch and you kind of bark at things. And
well, I think especially this younger generation coming up, I feel like there's a curiosity and an ambition, but I think because of social media and other things, there's a sense of like, well, I'm an expert overnight, or I can watch a couple YouTube videos and
everybody's an expert in everything nowadays, especially when you can just pull it up on YouTube. So a lot of what I've heard people come in is I've watched it, it didn't make sense until I did it. And that's a lot of kind of why I'm there as well, because when you connect those dots and they see that they can do it, you know, I can do this, or
and I would imagine too, sort of the accessibility. I can do this,
right?
But also to your point about like, well, everyone's a little different, and there's, you know, you got to do this and that, and there's like all these different sort of subtleties and craftsmanship.
Right. Yeah, and you don't want you kind of push people out, you know, when you start forcing like your little thing on there. So I kind of give everybody like a broad stroke, you know. You kind of saw how I run things to get them in there and just start pulling the trigger and get over those initial apprehensions.
Yeah, it's a very welcoming, chill kind of environment, and you know, I appreciate that you set aside time on Friday afternoons for people under 18 and people with disabilities and accessibility challenges. And
yeah, it's very important. And when that video really took off, I had a lot of them reach out because they haven't felt like it was accessible at all. And all I did was bought a $100 Amazon table that was adjustable, right, with a little TIG welder, and the guy's put his wheelchair underneath. It, you know, it's just a will, I guess. You know, the willingness to help, and I guess, you know, it goes to, I guess, you're just loving your fellow man, I guess. You know?
I think we need a little bit more of that community spirit, that helping each other out.
Yeah, I think the tides are turning. I can kind of see that, especially when it goes to what you're saying about, you know, old guys like me. That's why they're dropping out of all those big companies, so they're not training anybody, and we're starting our own thing.
Yes.
So that's why all these companies are not doing too well, the corporation-wise. Like your kids are seeing, I don't want to go work for a guy for 20 years, and then I'm going to come in one day and he's going to get rid of me over something I didn't even do. Right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, there's a lot to be said about the kids looking at their parents, what they had to go through working, you know, 20, 30 years. And then
you're at the door.
Yeah. See you later one day, you know, 3 weeks before retirement or whatever the case. So I saw that everything's switching. Doing business with a clear conscience is the only thing that's going to pay anymore. Right? Prior, it seemed like the only people that were getting anywhere were not doing business correctly.
Yeah.
Right. Those are the only ones that gained. It paid to do business bad.
Yeah, there was sort of a reward for financial outcome versus how you were treating people and their relationships. And you know, I've worked in many situations where there were people that were not particularly good people, but they tended to keep getting promoted or rewarded. And I agree with what you're saying. I think the tide is turning. I think, you know, what's going on now, whether it's social media, whether it's politics, whether it's whatever's going on, I feel like there is a massive revisiting of what's important and what's meaningful.
Yeah, everybody's reevaluating everything in their life, not just them, where they spend their money, who they do business. They're reevaluating everything, because I know that's just a human thing to, especially for older guys. That's something we do, you know, more than someone that is younger. But I think if we would have done more reevaluating when we were younger, we might be in a little better position now, whereas your kids, my kids, they're reevaluating everything.
Yeah, and I love it. I mean, it does give me hope. It makes me feel, I mean, it's tough right now, and I know it's tougher for certain people than others, but I think that I like to think that we're going to end up in a better place with where people are at, and I mean, even businesses. This is not to knock on businesses. It's just that, like, I think to your point that there's a way to do it where you're aware of your people, you're treating people well, you're building long-term relationships, you're looking out for each other. And it's the kind of thing I feel like I was hearing from like my grandfather and my father.
Well, yeah, those businesses initially, you know, 30s, 40s, that's kind of how America was built, on those type of business models. And that went away with the corporations that all came in the last 40, 50 years and really kind of destroyed all those core values to running a proper business. And I see that those tides are changing, whereas people, they're voting with their dollars, they're not going to spend their money with you if you're not running your business correctly and doing some of those things that other businesses did, that got them the million, zillion dollars, and that's not going to work anymore.
Yeah, and just having your mission or whatever painted on the wall, but you don't actually live it.
That's not going to work.
Is
anymore.
not good. I love it.
No, and it's you can kind of see that's where we're headed, right? It's doing business like that is not going to work anymore. That you can see the pushback.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that, and I'm glad to see it. Not a moment too soon.
No, I run my business, my life with clear conscience. That's how I run everything. And just a prime example, just this week, Caterpillar paid me twice, right? $370.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think Caterpillar would ever know?
No.
What did I do, Ashley? Make sure you call Caterpillar, tell them they overpaid me. There's 2 ways we can go about it.
Yep.
I think prior that wouldn't happen, right?
Yeah. Well, I think there's that idea of like, and I don't know what the exact saying was, but it's along the lines of like, what you do when nobody's watching, that's what really speaks to who the kind of person you are.
Right.
And I mean, to your point, it's like Caterpillar wouldn't have
$370.
I'm sure if it had a couple extra zeros, they might not have even noticed.
Yeah,
but
for sure. My little 370, they didn't notice at all. You know, but that it was just a small example. That's how you have to run your business is with a clear conscience. That is the only success that's going to come, right?
Yeah. And I think that's exactly why. Like I said, it was sort of a lightning bolt. I saw the TikTok. I came to see you, and I watched how you kind of moved around and engaged with people, and then we chatted, and I was like, Travis is a good guy. Travis needs to be on the Impact Tribe podcast.
Well, I appreciate it. I think that, I'm just doing what I can. Does that make sense?
Oh,
and, I think that there's a lot of more people are going to come behind me if they just do what they can. We'd be a lot better off for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's I've been trying to adopt that, and I've shared that with my son, where it's like there's a lot of things you can't fix. In fact, most of them you can't fix.
Right.
But if you can find something that is within your sphere, someone you can help, something you can fix, that's all you need to do.
Right.
And treat people the right way, and I think we'll all be better off.
Yeah. Somebody told me something. I forget. I have a lot of these. Keep your head down in success and keep your head up in failure. That's a very good way.
Yeah.
Keeping your head down in success keeps you meek, in your right frame of mind.
Humble.
Yeah, because it can creep up on you. Does that make? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's my biggest worry. I just want to make sure that I keep my head down and just reach as many people as I can.
Yeah.
So we'll get there.
That's great. Well, and everyone, you, me, other people, everyone doing their own thing,
right?
And helping move things forward. And so, I always end with this question: how would you like to be remembered?
Well,
or what would you like to be known for? Either.
Well, I'm kind of creating my legacy right now.
Yeah.
I didn't have a very good one to follow, so I had to create my own.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my questions to Guy, like, why did this and this happen? And that was the response. Well, you can't create your own legacy that way.
Yeah.
I think that how would I it's a hard one to kind of grasp and hold on to. I think that my main point is just to love, right? Love is a verb. I think people get that wrong. It's not a noun. It's a verb. It's an action.
Yeah.
And it means sacrifice. So I just want to make sure that I get everything out before I'm not on this planet anymore. So what would I be remembered by? I don't know. I guess God, family, country. I love God, I love my family, and I love my country. So those are the three things I'm marching towards by putting on the free classes. If you really look at the grand amalgamation, right, it's God, family, country, and just that little free fab school.
It's wonderful. All right, well, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for what you're doing for the community, what you're doing for the up and coming generations. And I love the way you're moving through the world and,
well, I
and what you're
appreciate
putting
it.
out there.
I appreciate it. And one other thing I want to mention, I did get a 501c3 going.
Oh, wonderful.
Mass Fabricator Trade Schools.
Nice.
The mission is to take a free community style to every city.
Oh, wow.
That's the mission of the 501c3.
Wonderful. So how can, if people are curious to learn more about you in general or this new initiative, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you? Or
either on the website, massfabricator.com, or any of the social media. I'm, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm fairly well out there. I have a lot of content. So if you want to know anything about me, just scroll down on any of my social media, and I'm sure you can attest it's the same guy you see there is the same guy you meet here.
True. And I love that because I've watched you those videos where there was one I watched, I think, where you were filming a whiteboard and kind of pointing at, like, I think it was, I don't know if it was the calendar, but it was just, it's very honest and just kind of like, hey, here's what you do and here's how you find me and, and whatever. And I think that that's what we need. There isn't any polish or cuts or crazy graphics.
Yeah,
it's just
I don't use filters and all those kind of things, but
you don't have the beard filter going, clearly. So
no.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get that.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here and spending some time. And for those watching and listening, please get in touch with Travis if you want to learn anything. And fabulous human being that is, I think, putting the right energy out in the world and helping people achieve whatever is next for them. And so I want to thank you, my friend, for being here.
Well, I appreciate you having me, sir, and I hope you have a good next venture, wherever that entails.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I appreciate you. Don't forget to follow and subscribe on whatever platform is your preferred. Until next time, thanks for creating a positive impact in your world. Together, we can make change happen. Thanks, everyone.